and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk all about neurotoxins. So neurotoxins can include Botox, Dysport, and Xeomin. Botox is just a brand of a neurotoxin. It is the one that I do reach for most often, but there are some patients out there that prefer Dysport or even prefer Xeomin. So for the sake of today's video, I probably will just be in the habit of saying Botox, but just know that everything we talk about is exactly the same whether you're using Botox, Dysport, or Xeomin. So mainly what I want to talk about today is what neurotoxins are, how they work, what their function is, and how we can use them to get the results we're looking for. Neurotoxins relax muscles on the face that we use in making facial expressions. They help to reduce the lines that are caused by animation. So they're not going to do anything for, the folds in your face, like the nasolabial folds, or for your pre-jowls that start to form or anything like that. It's strictly for fixing fine lines and wrinkles that are caused by muscle movement. I think it's perfect for this video that I am definitely due for my Botox. I'm actually a little bit overdue. So it'll work really nicely so I can show you what these lines look like. So first things first, it's important to talk about how neurotoxins work. Now, I don't want to get too technical here and go into too much detail, but I just want to give a really quick, brief overview of how the product works. So in order to understand this, we first have to understand how muscle movement works. In our body, we have a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. They travel down neurons within our nervous system, and they are released from the end, and it attaches to another neuron that has a receptor on it that grabs that acetylcholine, which sends a nerve impulse to that muscle, which causes that muscle to move. Now, when we treat with a neurotoxin, the neurotoxin blocks that release of the acetylcholine, so it doesn't even get to that neuron, so it doesn't transmit that electrical impulse, so you don't get the movement of the muscle. So there really is no, we'll just treat with a little bit of Botox and just impair the muscle a little bit. The muscle is either on or off. It's either getting that acetylcholine message or it's not. That's often a big misconception about neurotoxins, is that you can do these micro baby doses and you'll just like reduce your movement a little bit. That's not how it works. When we treat with a neurotoxin, it shuts off that impulse of the acetylcholine to the muscle. It's just how long that reduction is going to last. So for instance, if I were to put, let's say, 10 units into my glabellar complex here, I will likely get the very exact same look and result as if I were to put 20 units here, but 10 units would probably last me maybe 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks if I'm lucky, but 20 units in this area will likely last me 3 to 4 months, sometimes even for me 5 to 6 months. So the dosing of Botox is more based on longevity of the product. I have a lot of patients that come in and are so scared to get Botox and are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be frozen, just give me a little bit. That's not how the product works. Usually if you've had a bad result in the past with being frozen, it's the injection technique and where they placed the product. The most popular place, or I'd say the #1 place to use these, is going to be the region that we call the glabella. So that's this region right in here. So this region includes your procerus muscle, which is a big muscle right here in the middle, which functions to pull down on your brows. And then we also treat the 2 corrugators. So it's a big, almost like worm-like muscle that lives just above your brows, and those muscles act to pull in and downward on the brow. So this set of 3 muscles gives us what we call those frown lines, or the 11s that people talk about. When we use Botox or any other neurotoxin, the function of it is to actually do the exact opposite of what the muscle normally does. So when we use neurotoxins in the glabellar area, we're going to get more of a lift and an opening of the eye. So it's going to slightly raise up that middle portion of your brow and separate the brow a little bit. Moving on to still in the upper face is around the eyes. So most people refer to this as the crow's feet. We're treating a muscle called the orbicularis oculi. So it's a round muscle that goes all the way around your eye, and when it contracts, it kind of acts as a purse string, so it pulls in. So it allows you to close your eyes tight like that. It allows you to bring the tail of those brows down. When we treat the crow's feet with Botox, it's gonna give you the opposite effect. So it relaxes that purse string muscle and allows it to open up. Moving on to the forehead. So the forehead consists of one muscle. It's called the frontalis. It lies right in here. It has two bellies to it. It inserts just above your brow here and travels up across the forehead. The function of this muscle is to lift up on the brows, so to look surprised like this. And when we do that, we can see we create these lines here across the forehead. When we're using neurotoxins, we get the exact opposite effect of what the muscle normally does. So when we treat the forehead with Botox, it's going to push down. This is one thing that I always like to educate my patients on, because they come into the office and they say, oh yeah, I always get Botox right in here and it gives me that brow lift. So actually, when you treat the forehead, you're going to get a depression or a flattening of the brow. If we treat very, very high on this muscle in the very tail of the brow, and that allows this part of the muscle to relax and open up, and you get a slight lift in the brow. That is actually how we get the brow lift. It's nothing crazy or insane. It's a millimeter or two, but it really can help to open that up. Anytime I'm treating a woman, especially, I never treat the forehead alone unless it's some kind of weird, rare circumstance. And the reason for this is because if I were to treat the forehead by itself, I have now knocked out the frontalis muscle, which is going to create a little bit of a depression in that area, flatten out the brow a bit. And now you still have full action of your glabellar complex, so the muscles here, which pull down and in on the brow. And then you also have full action of your eye muscle here, which again, pulls down and in on the brow. So now you have a complex that's pulling down because we've relaxed it, and two other complexes pulling down. So inevitably, you're going to get a little bit of a drop in the brow and a flattening of the brow. Now, why this is important is because women love that high arched brow. And especially if I'm treating a more mature woman, say in her 50s, we start to see a little bit of aging in this area where we get a little bit of loose skin here above the eye. And if you get a depression of the brow, this is going to get even heavier looking. When I treat the forehead, I don't always necessarily have to do a full treatment here on the glabellar area, but I do like to put at least a few units in there, do a brow lift, or treat the eye area in order to counteract the effects of treating the forehead. That being said, I have no issue treating the glabellar complex on its own because we get a lifting. I have no problem treating the eye area by itself because we get a lifting. One misconception with treating the crow's feet is that it is not going to do anything for this area here under the eye. That all has to do with fat pads, hollowing, crepey skin. I have had patients who have come in who've had providers put Botox in this area. Every now and then I'll put maybe like a unit and I'll bring it really far in just to relax that pull a little bit. But if you have a provider who's putting a lot of units directly under the eye, just be very careful because it's not going to give you that much of an improvement. What can happen is if you treat this part of the eye muscle, it can relax it to the fact that you get this outward turning of the eye. And then you're stuck like that for 3 months. Not a cute look. All right, so there you have it, a little bit of information on neurotoxins and different areas that we can use them. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, just go ahead and comment below. Also, go on over to my Instagram. I do have a post on this there as well. And as always, thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.